What's up? What's up, everyone? How's everyone doing today? This is my first live. Oh, well, if you can hear the squeaking in the background, it's my dog squeaking with her toy. But it's my first live time doing Plumecast, so should be a good time. Just want to talk about a bunch of stuff. Toast. Lots of stuff to go over. Yeah, my weekly gaming podcast that I do every week, usually upload on Sundays around noon. But decided I wanted to go live this week and just try it out because I've never done it before. See if you guys like it. Just gonna have a live discussion with you guys about some of the stuff going on in the news. The big one recently is this politics stuff that we're gonna start off with. But yeah, we'll get into it in a bit. As always on Plumecast every single week. If you guys have been watching every week, and if not, well, welcome. Consider hitting that subscribe and that like button. But every single week on Plumecast, what I always start off with is drinking a beer. Well, I drink it throughout the episode, but I drink a beer on the show itself. And this week's beer that I'm drinking is Polliner Salvatore, which I've never heard of before. I just randomly saw it in like my beer store and picked it up. It's a German beer. They say it's the first Munich Doppelbock beer. I don't know what that means. Maybe we have some German beer drinkers in the chat, but that's what that is. So I'm going to crack this beer open, talk about some of the games that I've been playing this week, and then we'll jump into talking about a bunch of topics. I want to talk about the politician stuff. There was a new Halo update. Probably take a look at like the PlayStation Plus versus the Game Pass stuff, the IGN comparable chart that they did, which was absolutely terrible. And just anything else you guys want to talk about, we'll go through the chat, and if you guys have any comments or questions and stuff, we'll talk about that as well. I already see a couple guys in here. What's up, Vincent Robinson? What's up, Anthony? I think politicians need to stay out of it. They're always against the video game industry. Big tech is an easy target for U.S. politicians right now. That's what it seems like. We'll get into that in a bit. But I'm going to just crack this beer because I want to start sipping on it as we go through this stuff. And let me know if you guys are having a drink tonight, or if you've been relaxing with anything recently. Beer, whiskey, coffee, Coke, water, whatever you guys are drinking. Oh, it's a pretty interesting color there. It's like a darker brown reddish. Huh. What's up? It's why is my name Plume? So you know what? Actually, I only have ever explained this once on. I don't know if you guys know Sensei Kills, his podcast there, where he just where he does like interviews with different YouTubers, and that's the only time I've ever explained it. He got an exclusive on that, and basically, Plume came from me. I play a baseball, and randomly I was up at bat one time, and somebody in the crowd yelled Plume for I don't know whatever reason, and then my team just started calling me Plume, and now that name stuck, and I just went with that. Going forward with my YouTube channel and everything. Hey, what's up, Ken? How you doing? Just got home from drinking. Gonna have a few more with my girl. Nice, man. Should be a fun night. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much where Plume came from. It has literally nothing to do with video games. It's not my gamer tag. It's not anything along those lines. It just has to do with a random nickname that I got called, and here we are. Now I have Plume Network. It rolls off the tongue. A lot of people are confused with the name, but you know, YouTube channels don't always have to be, the names don't always have to be like what you're talking about. So there is the name for Plume. So cheers, everyone. Let me know what you guys are drinking in the comments below in the chat if you're having a drink tonight. Besides that, this week I've been playing Elden Ring, still playing that. I mean, it's going to take me forever to get through it. And I jumped into Tunic, and Tunic is absolutely incredible. I was excited for that game when it first came out. I didn't get into it on day one just because of all the other games that were out. Jumped in this week, and I'd say I've already played about 10, 15 hours of it. And it's an incredible game. It's like to me, it's a masterpiece in everything, in the gameplay, the design of the different areas, the combat, the music. It's such a great indie game, and it's made by like one person. Although I did listen to him on an interview with, I think, IGN IGN Unlocked, and he was explaining how there's a lot of people involved, but he's like the main guy who started the project and everything. And it's an absolute masterpiece. It was a day one Game Pass game with that surprise announcement that nobody really saw coming. Everyone thought we were gonna have it wasn't gonna be in Game Pass, but they announced it at that ID at Xbox showcase. And yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful game. Absolutely love it. It reminds me a lot of like it's like Souls Light, I guess. There's Souls elements to it for sure, where you have you lose like your coins or gold or whatever it's called if you die. You don't lose them all, but you lose some of them. They have like the graces, if that's what you want to call them, throughout the different areas where that's where you light them. So if you die, that's where you respawn. The combat's relatively difficult. It's not that hard. Yeah, I would say that it's not that hard of a game compared to like a Souls game, but other than that, it has like a lot of Zelda elements as well, where you have to discover the different areas and then find the different weapons and different items before you can advance to the different areas of the game. And one of the coolest things with Tunic that I think it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen in a video game is the way that they kind of built the instruction manual, where you have to find the pieces of the page across the world. And once you find those pieces of the instruction manual, it gives you hints of where to go next. It's so cool. I'm probably going to be able to finish it up this week, but I highly recommend, if you haven't checked out Tunic yet, jump in, try that game out. And I don't think you'll be very disappointed. So that's pretty much been it for what I've been playing this week. If you guys let me know what you guys are playing in the chat, in the comments, whatever. And if you're playing Tunic, let me know if you like it, because I think it's a masterpiece. I think that it's almost unfortunate that because when Elden Ring came out, it's still so popular. Tunic was almost still overshadowed by Elden Ring, even though it was like 2 weeks later. But I think a lot of people are going to pass up on playing it just because of they're still playing Elden Ring and other big AAA IPs that they should check it out. What's up, Fire Boss, Fur Boss, however you say your name? What's up, man? Boss, how you doing? Welcome to the first ever live Plume cast. I've seen comments on my Plume cast where people are like, "Oh man, I missed the stream. I wasn't there for it, but happy to catch up on it now." I've never actually done it live. This is the first time. Yeah, Tunic is definitely fire. So great game. So the first thing we're going to talk about this week, which is, I'll be honest with you guys, I haven't really actually looked at the letter or anything, so I'm probably just going to go through it live and kind of give you my reaction on this stuff. I haven't had time to see what all the fuss is about, but I saw the tweet, so I'll just get this up here. I saw the tweet, and ridiculous tweet. I mean, it right off the bat doesn't really make sense. Tunic could be game of the year. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that for sure. It's definitely in the running. It probably won't because of Elden Ring. I mean, they're going to give it probably to a AAA, but yeah. Fire Boss. Yeah, okay. That's what I thought. I'm bad with names. I'm actually very bad with names. I can't, like, when I'm filming my videos, the amount of times I have to read a name and then re-say it over and over again, so I don't sound like a complete idiot before I upload it. It's all the time. What's up, Outbreak Podcast? Thanks, man. Thanks for stopping by. Drinking Labatt. Cheers. Cheers, Outbreak. But let's jump into this. Let's jump into this here. So, politicians and Activision. Like I said, I haven't really looked into it. I saw all of the outrage on Twitter and everything, but this is what it says. I mean, Elizabeth Warren, and I'm a Canadian. That's what you guys got to keep in mind too, that I may not have the best perspective when it comes to these politicians. I don't really know what they stand for, where their policies lie, all that type of stuff. I'm just going to quickly change this here. And so I can't really scrutinize it in the sense of who she is and why she's tweeting this out, but I can scrutinize it definitely in the sense of the stuff that she writes in the letter. So she tweets out, Activision has a history of unchecked workplace sexual misconduct and discrimination. If the merger with Microsoft happens, conditions for workers could get worse. And then tags a bunch of these senators here and wants the FTC to closely scrutinize the merger. So right off the bat, I mean, this tweet makes absolutely no sense because Activision themselves, like, they have the terrible toxic workplace. What does this have to do with Microsoft when we know Microsoft is already being like nominated for best places to work? It's just anyone who's talked about working there has had good things to say about it. Their Glassdoor rating is really good. So I don't know how the unchecked workplace misconduct and discrimination from Activision, if it's getting transferred over to a company that doesn't have this stuff or doesn't have it as prevalent. I mean, most corporations have bad areas, bad things that happen within them. It's almost impossible not to, especially when there's that many people working at it. It's just, how do you deal with those things when they occur is what needs to happen. And I feel like Microsoft probably does a decent job at it. How is, just with logic, how is transferring Activision over to Microsoft a bad thing? It doesn't really make sense. And there was a lot of people who were up in arms about it. And we can see that here. Like, you go through all the quote tweets, and people within the community that I'm sure you see on Twitter all the time had their opinions. But here's the actual letter that I actually haven't read through. So I don't know if you guys are interested in going through this letter, but I'm going to go through it. It's about 5 pages. I'm going to read through because I haven't yet, and I don't really know exactly what they say. And you can't get too much context out of a tweet, right? A tweet just gives you very, very little context as to what they mean. So I'm kind of interested in what, who wrote it? Elizabeth Warren? Yeah, and then the other senators, I guess they write it together. Go down here to the bottom. Yeah, so Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, right? Bernard Sanders, Sheldon Whitehouse, and Cory Booker. So yeah, I've heard of these names. I just don't really follow them because, you know what? Honestly, I'm not politics. I sometimes follow it, but like, I find politics in general has been just seeped into everything. And I don't really want to get into politics, especially on this channel. I want this to be like a channel where we don't talk about politics. Honestly, it just ruins everything, and I don't care that much. So let's go through this letter. I'm going to just move this mic over here so I can actually see it better. Dear Chairwoman Khan, we are writing today regarding Microsoft's proposed $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard, a merger that threatens worker-led demands for accountability and could create dangerous precedent in the industry. Okay. Workers at Activision Blizzard, following years of rampant sexual misconduct and discrimination and unfair labor practices, have led calls for greater transparency and accountability in the gaming industry. And we are deeply concerned that this acquisition could further disenfranchise these workers and prevent their voices from being heard. Again, how does that make sense? Not too sure. We know their voices weren't heard at Activision Blizzard, and we know at Microsoft they have a better working environment. So right away you would think that would lead to their voices being heard more and just having a safer, less toxic work environment on a day-to-day basis. As this proposed deal moves forward in the review process, the FTC should assess whether the ways in which these companies have failed to protect the rights and dignity of their workers are driven by monopsony, power, or amount to anti-competitive harms in our labor market, and if so, if the merger will exacerbate these problems. Activision Blizzard's frat boy culture has come to light in recent years as regulators investigated allegations of sexual misconduct and discrimination, and Activision Blizzard employees have spoken up about their experiences at the company. They say here, September 2021, Activision Blizzard agreed to pay $18 million to settle allegations with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission over gender-based harassment and retaliation at the company. I think just recently that actually got passed, or they have to pay that money. The whatever that is, like the California court said that they had to pay that settlement. Following an investigation that started in May, which, I mean, $18 million to them is absolutely nothing, right? $18 million, it's a drop in the bucket for Activision Blizzard. Following an investigation that started in May 2020, the EEOC alleged that Activision Blizzard employees were subjected to sexual harassment that was severe or pervasive to alter the conditions of employment, and the company failed to take corrective and preventative measures. Okay, so they keep going on here. 2021, California Department of Fair Employment and Housing filed a suit against Activision Blizzard alleging gender-based discrimination. Okay, so we know all about that stuff, the stuff that they talked about, that they were being investigated for, the terrible stories that came out of Activision Blizzard and how nobody was taking action. And some of the stuff you were hearing was very bad, probably the worst we've seen in a developer in a video game company, at least in the recent memory that I can think of, came out of Activision Blizzard. So right there, they're trying to block this from going through because they think that their employees are not going to they're going to continue to face these things. But you would think that if they don't get sold to Microsoft, staying in Activision Blizzard would be a worse thing because all the same people would be in charge, all the same people would be running the company, and you wouldn't have a company that is known to have a good working environment stepping in. Activision Blizzard is also facing a wide-ranging investigation from the Securities and Exchange Commission into its handling of sexual misconduct and discrimination that has enmeshed several senior executives, including CEO Bobby Kotick. Despite Mr. Kotick's professed ignorance, internal documents and interviews released in November 2021 showed that he was aware of several sexual misconduct issues, including alleged assaults, and failed to inform the board of directors or regulators. Wall Street Journal report in 2019, Mr. Kotick explicitly intervened on behalf of an employee accused of sexual harassment against the recommendations of the Human Resources Department, and that in 2020 he was aware of an email from 30 female employees. Okay, so we know all about this stuff. I don't need to read through it all. Blah, 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 blah. They're talking about everything that happened. In addition to allegations that Activision Blizzard fostered and protected a culture of sexual misconduct. Okay, yeah, we know all that. This is old news. We've heard about this for a while now. And then they continue on talking about all the different stuff. And I guess what they're getting at here, so Activision Blizzard employees have worked to bring the highlighted issues to light and advocate for change in the organization progress that could be threatened by Microsoft's proposed acquisition. That makes absolutely no sense. It's almost like they have no idea what they're talking about when writing this letter, which is funny because you always see these older politicians, and it blows my mind, politicians, when they write things like this, they propose things like this. Do they even take 5 seconds to look at what they're writing and if it makes any sense based on the situation in what's occurring in real life? Comparing Activision to Microsoft and saying that progress could be threatened by Microsoft's proposed acquisition, when in reality we've seen Phil Spencer, we've seen the way he acts with Xbox, we've seen what they want to do. It just doesn't make any sense, this letter so far at all, from what I've read. Over 1,500 Activision Blizzard employees participated in a walkout in response to the July 2021 Department of Fair Employment. Okay, I remember that walkout. Mr. Koch covered up widespread issues of the company. Conducted the walkout, ABK Workers Alliance, all that stuff. Following Activision Blizzard's layoffs of Raven. So Raven, this is another thing they talk about here, is the Raven software QA workers, right? So the QA workers are trying to unionize, and just recently, I think it was like last week or the week before, where Microsoft had come out and said that they can do what they want with the unionization. They don't care. If they want to unionize, go ahead. They're not going to stand in the way whatsoever, which you can say that's great on Microsoft. You can also look at it from, I guess, the negative point of view is they can't really make any changes. They can't really do anything right now. They don't own Activision Blizzard, and there's no way they would come out and say, like, we don't want this union to occur, because then that would probably give these politicians even more things to worry about and complain about with this deal and it potentially going through or not. But we also saw, I think it was Hogue Law on Twitter. If I can find the tweet. Let me see here if I can find the tweet here. Probably can't. It's probably way down. But I think it was, I'm not gonna look for it, but I think it was Hogue Law on Twitter that basically said that within the actual deal itself, the only way that there could be a union when the deal goes through is if they did they renegotiated parts of the deal or something like that. So that's why they have to do more than just say they're not going to stand in their way. They'd have to actually go ahead and renegotiate the deal or something along those lines. So yeah, but they did say they weren't going to stand in the way, and I don't see why they would. It doesn't really make too much sense. So I guess they also talk about that here as well. They say, although Microsoft announced in March 2022 that it would not stand in the way if Activision Blizzard recognized the proposed union, this announcement appears to be a little more than lip service. I mean, that's kind of true based off of what I've read. It provides no assurance of Microsoft's promise and is so vague that it leaves multiple ways for Microsoft to undermine the unionization process and its outcome, and the actions of both Activision Blizzard and Microsoft throughout the merger process undermine the value of this late in-game statement. Activision Blizzard has already declined to voluntarily recognize the union and engage in union-busting behavior by reorganizing the QA workers into an embedded model, splitting up the core group of employees in a clear barrier to the unionization effort. CWA's organizing director Tom Smith called the reorganization nothing more than a tactic to thwart Raven QA workers who are exercising their right to organize, and condemned the company for launching an anti-union campaign and hiring an anti-union law firm. Okay, so this paragraph here, I think, gives more insight. So I'm not an expert at all when it comes to this union stuff, but I'm guessing Elizabeth Warren and those politicians are really for unions. And I'm guessing that that's like the political agenda behind this in some shape or form. I could be wrong. But that's kind of this paragraph here, I guess, gives more insight into what they're really focusing on, because a lot of the stuff they're talking about with the workplace culture and it transferring over to Microsoft, there's just nothing there. There's no substance to that argument whatsoever. It just doesn't make any sense. In fact, let's go down here. I wonder if they do mention it. It'll be, if they don't mention it, then it'll make even less sense of the news that came out this week and the other week. But we'll go over here. Microsoft's opportunistic merger proposal with Blizzard Activision during its crisis over weak worker protections and its own history with workers also present alarming signs for how Microsoft would treat Activision Blizzard employees. In 2014, okay, so I heard about this. 2014, 38 of Microsoft's temporary workers in quality assurance successfully formed a union, only to see the company eliminate all their job 2 years later. What's up, Beer Baron? Yeah, so this is what this is all about. It's something about the union. They want the union to occur, and they're afraid that Microsoft is not going to allow this union to occur, even if they do, even though they said that they don't care about it whatsoever. And then they talk about Bobby Kotick here. Blizzard employees signed a letter calling for Mr. Kotick to step down. However, Microsoft's proposed deal with Activision Blizzard is protecting Mr. Kotick, keeping him in his role as CEO until at least 2023 and guaranteeing him hundreds of millions of dollars in profit and potential additional golden parachute worth $14.5 million if he does not step down voluntarily. Okay, so they're saying they're protecting Bobby. They've already said that they want him out. Like, Bobby Kotick is not staying around once this deal goes through, but he is getting a golden parachute, that's for sure. And that's another thing, I guess. They're using that as an argument because he's going to get away with a ton of money. Pushing agendas rather than making real change. That's for sure. I mean, yeah, it's true. Like, you're thinking about how the government is spending their money and spending their time and resources and trying to block this deal over actually doing things that are much more important. It's actually funny to think about. But, that's what there's some sort of political agenda in the background that obviously these politicians are trying to push. There's something that they're gaining if this doesn't get blocked on their side. That's why they want this to happen. We don't know, but that's generally how I feel when it comes to politicians and the way that they go about their business. And I'm not really into politics. I don't want to I don't cover it. I'm not going to bring it into this channel because I don't want it to. It's just, we're talking about gaming here, right? Not politics. Chair Khan recently stated that robust antitrust enforcement can help ensure workers have the freedom to seek higher pay and better working conditions, and can help promote economic opportunity and widespread prosperity for all. Okay, all right. Enforcement will require antitrust agencies to keep workers front and center. We are deeply concerned about consolidation in the tech industry and its impact on workers, and this proposed merger has already hurt workers at Activision Blizzard in their fight for a stable job and a safe working environment. So, I don't know how it's hurt their workers currently. The current culture has hurt their workers. The only way I can see this hurting the workers currently at Activision Blizzard is when this deal goes through, Microsoft goes in there and just kind of tears everything up, fires a bunch of people, brings in their own people that they have on the sideline waiting to take over. That's the only way. But other than that, from everything we know about Activision Blizzard as well as Microsoft, I don't see how this hurts their employees. Again, that this argument that the acquisition is going to hurt the employees more than if they don't get acquired doesn't make sense. And then the other thing with like the consolidation of the tech industry. I mean, this is something people have talked about for a while now, and there's plenty of evidence out there that this is in no way a real consolidation. There's so many huge companies out there that own a bunch of studios. And when you look at the overall pie of the video game industry, even with this acquisition from Microsoft, they're in no way a monopoly over the games industry. So again, they're saying things that make no sense. They're saying things without any actual, I guess, evidence or education to back up what they're saying in this letter. That's the way I see it. Then it just ends it off here. That's pretty much it. That's the end of it. So the main takeaway from this letter, and this is one thing too when it comes to this type of stuff, this is a 5-page letter, and the majority of people just kind of react to the headline or the tweet. And there's nothing really additional in this letter, though, I have to say. It seems like there's something to do with the unions. They have some sort of agenda on that end. But everything else they've talked about doesn't make sense. And you know what? They didn't even mention something they could have used as an argument towards pushing this forward if they wanted to. And that was this article that came out this week. I don't know if you guys had a chance to read this, but they didn't even mention any of the stuff going on here at Undead Labs that Kotaku did like their report on, talking about just the workplace culture and the head of the industry kind of being an absentee father, they call them, all that type of stuff. And they could have used this information, evidence from this, to say, hey, this is why we were thinking that this acquisition would be worse for their employees. They didn't even do any of that. So they're really just kind of spewing nonsense when it comes to this whole thing here. And I don't know. I don't know if this will have any effect on the acquisition whatsoever. I don't think it will. It's just kind of obviously something that these 4 politicians want to push through for some reason or another that we don't really know about. And they could be using their time at the end of the day for things that make a lot more sense. But hey, that's what it is. But let's talk about this now, since this kind of all goes into it. And this has to do with Undead Labs and State of Decay 3. So what's up, Josh? How you doing? Josh is the host of Xbox the North podcast. Go check that out, guys. If you haven't yet on YouTube, great podcast. Some fellow Canadians doing some great Xbox work. All right, so let's talk about this Undead Labs. So there's an article that came out this week from Kotaku. It had to do with Undead Labs, and it had to do with State of Decay 3 and where it potentially is, what is going on at the actual development studio itself, and just the future of if this game is going to be coming out soon, if it's going to be great, all that type of stuff. So basically, there was a report here. Kotaku interviewed, they say 12 employees that are still working there or not still working there. So it's a mixture, right? Some left, some are still there. And they talk about, I'm just going to go down here to the beginning here. Where is it? So they start off here talking about what Phil Spencer's responsibility is, what he wants, what he said at the DICE 2022 Game Awards or 2022 Awards. He says, our responsibility is simple. Do everything possible to ensure that the entire industry is about treating every single person with dignity and respect. And then continues on here. We fall short when we fail to provide a safe and inclusive environment for every person who works in our industry. We fall short when we tolerate abuse. We fall short every single time someone feels unwelcome in our industry and communities. Oh yeah, I meant to tell you, Plume, in your last vid, the report is very iffy, more like it was an old article restructured at the last minute. So, I'm going through it now, but, I can probably just, if you guys don't want to go through the whole thing, I'll go through it. I'm backtracking, but I have like an opinion that I formed. I actually read through this entire Kotaku article. This is a long ass article. Like this thing, I don't know how many people actually read through it. It's pretty boring, I'll be honest, but it's long. It is. There's so much to go through. And after reading through it, the summation that came to my mind was basically Undead Labs. They started off fine. Then they got acquired by Microsoft. They grew and they got a bunch more money behind them. There's this pressure on them to make State of Decay 3 like more of like a AAA big game compared to their other games, which were indies. And by the way, State of Decay 2 is an awesome game, especially for an indie. I've been enjoying my time playing it, but there was pressure to take that game, expand it out, and make it something big, AAA, something that is going to be a big jump from State of Decay 2, which caused just more people being hired, expanding more things to take care of. The head of the studio getting more stressed out because he actually had to move he decided to move his family to New Orleans, and Undead Labs is in Seattle. So he literally had to fly from New Orleans to Seattle every single week and back. So that had a lot of stress on him. And that's why they called him an absentee father, and which led him to wanting to stay in New Orleans with his family to hire and so they hired somebody else to take over as the head of the studio. And then that head of the studio, I believe his name is Philip Holt, was accused of like just hiring his friends, ignoring misconduct, ignoring bad things going on within the industry. They hired an HR person named Ann Schlosser, who apparently ignored complaints and all that type of stuff. But then you read more into it, and apparently, like, no, she just left. She just kind of quit, but nobody really had any complaints about her. Most people kind of had positive things to say about her work. So then we get to that point where the original head left, the new head comes in, and now people are complaining, but they end off this entire article, this entire complaint from those 12 employees who either work there or don't work there. We don't know, or at least some of them do and some of them don't, which I found really peculiar because they did such a huge report to end it off with saying, I gotta find it here. This thing is damn long. Nobody read through this whole thing. You can tell. Where is it here? I gotta find. Get involved. The company was accused of the lawsuit. Blah blah blah. FTC. Well, there wasn't. I can't find it. It's at the bottom here somewhere. But basically, they're saying that now things have gotten better, and that they still think there's going to be a great game out of this, and there's a lot of great stuff to do. So, what I think happened with this entire situation was Undead Labs got acquired. Microsoft came in and did their, like, we're hands off. Like, same thing they kind of did with the initiative. We're hands off. We're going to let them keep their culture. We're going to let them just continue to do their things. And what's up, Sav? Being out, we're live today. And it didn't work out. So then Microsoft stepped in and then kind of got some more hires in place. And now things have turned around in a way that this game still is on track and has a chance to be good. Now, I'm not trying to say all of these complaints that the employees had were just bogus. Like, I'm sure there was bad things going on. I'm sure stuff got ignored, and that's never good. Like, that needs to be cleaned up. And when Activision Blizzard comes over to Microsoft, they got to make sure that stuff doesn't happen. But there's this entire article here talking about all of these things that are bad that it seems like have already kind of been fixed from Microsoft stepping in and doing what they need to do to make sure that the culture got better. So I don't really see anything here. I don't see the point of this massive report other than just, I guess, letting people know about the things that were bad that were happened that eventually got fixed. I don't know. It's kind of the same thing with the initiative stuff that people were talking about a couple weeks ago with all of the departures and how there was two different directions that the studio wanted to go. And then Gallagher comes in and puts his foot down and says, we're doing it this way. We're bringing in Crystal Dynamics. And pretty much if you don't like it, then I guess tough. And now the game is back on track, which it gives you kind of insight as to how these, because I've never worked in the video game industry. I've never worked in a development studio, but it gives you kind of insight as to what kind of needs to be done in order to get games on track to actually release in a reasonable amount of time. You need to have structure in some form. It can't just be totally flat where everyone just kind of has their own ideas and does what they want. You need a leader in there to direct the direction of the game and what people need to be doing, just for the simple fact so the game comes out in a reasonable time and they're not just continuously spinning their wheels and coming up with nothing. And this seems similar to the initiative situation, kind of seems similar to the Undead Labs situation, where at some point, especially with Activision Blizzard, at some point, like, Microsoft's going to have to step in and make sure that there is some form of organization where games are moving forward on a reasonable time frame. You can't just can't let all these development studios just continue to always be held back, always be in the idea stage, because the biggest thing Microsoft promised with the acquisitions of all these studios that I think most people are looking for is the release of games on a 3 to 4 month basis into Xbox Game Pass on day one. And the only way that can be done is if you have studios that are moving forward with the development of their games. And the only way it seems like that can be done, at least right now, from these new studios that Microsoft has, is there has to be leadership. Someone has to take direction. And whenever that happens, if there's somebody at the top who just finally says, okay, we can't be working like this anymore, we need to put our foot down, you're going to have people who are disgruntled. You're going to have people whether I'm sure, like, people get treated badly 100%. I'm not trying to say that, but you will have people who think that their ideas aren't being listened to, when maybe it's just the decision a decision has to be made, and you can't just continuously keep listening to ideas. You have to eventually move forward. That's could be it. I don't know, but the things that they complained about in this entire breaking article, not good. Like, they shouldn't happen. Microsoft needs to make sure that it shouldn't happen, but there was nothing that was like insanely damning from here. And in fact, there's actually this article, and then there was, do I have it up here? Yeah. Then Jeff Strain was the former head of Undead Labs and previously co-founded ArenaNet, and he's the maker of Guild Wars and all that type of stuff. And he gave his side of the story. So if you're really interested in everything, I would read this and I would read this, and I would just say he explains a lot of the stuff from his perspective. Like, for example, there was a point here in this article where they say that he kept coming out and saying they were never going to be acquired. And he actually did like a rally speech saying that they were not going to be acquired. And then a little bit after that, he sold to Microsoft. And I mean, he probably got a huge bag for selling to Microsoft. It makes a lot of sense. Generally, these smaller studios, I'm assuming, they build their studio from nothing. And if they're trying to get a hit game, they're trying to get something that will get them attention in the industry so that they can get bought up by one of these bigger companies, or at least have a game that is going to make them a lot and like just continue to grow and have them expand their studio. So Microsoft comes in, offers him a bunch of money, and says, hey, we have all these resources. You can expand your studio and make games that you could have only dreamt of before this acquisition. Who's not going to take that? It's kind of hard to say no to, right? But anyways, they say he did a speech saying they weren't going to be acquired. And then soon after, they did sell to Microsoft, and people were saying that, was he just doing that speech as like a sales pitch to Microsoft? And he completely just kind of shuts that down as, no, one, that's a terrible sales pitch if that's the way you're going to do it. And two, it had nothing to do with that. It's just kind of the circumstances of the industry. So there's a lot of stuff like that. He also mentions the flying back and forth from New Orleans to Seattle. And I mean, I guess since we were talking about the Elizabeth Warren stuff here and the FTC stuff where they're complaining about workplace culture, I don't know, but how many companies would allow their heads to like every single week go from New Orleans to Seattle and back? I'm sure it wasn't on his dime. I'm sure Microsoft pays for that. So that to me is a pretty good perk for a company, although I would hate to do that, but I'm sure most people would, right? So, all right, let's read some of these comments here. It sounds like to me they want to get paid to do nothing. As soon as management say, look, here, we got to start working, zoning out is over, they get upset. We've heard a bunch of stories about crunch, which, I mean, not good. Like, you shouldn't be overworking your employees, or if you are overworking them, at least give them a good workplace culture to do that. But like, you generally shouldn't. And maybe, but we don't really hear too much about, there is a bit about crunching there, but it's nothing like crazy from what we've heard from other industries. Ponies are holding church services that this acquisition doesn't go through. Ponies are begging the president and politicians that this acquisition doesn't go through. I mean, I don't know what to say to that other than as like Call of Duty staying on all platforms. So ponies are still going to have Call of Duty, and it's for the betterment of the franchises. For the deal to go through, it's for the betterment of Activision. We already know that they're going to most likely be stopping the yearly release of Call of Duty after MW2. So that's just already a great sign that that things are changing for the better over there, because there's no way that game needs to be released on a yearly basis. Tax the rich. This is not a political channel or podcast. I'm not getting into it. Bots will have a meltdown if this happens. You know what? Honestly, I'm sure some people will be upset. I think the side from the Xbox point of view, why people are upset about this is because it doesn't make sense. Like, the argument here from these politicians just doesn't make sense. If there was a legitimate thing here where they're like, yeah, we have like a legitimate reason why this shouldn't happen. We've done our research and here are the facts as to why we think it shouldn't happen. Okay, that would be like something different. But we just literally read through. That's not it. We just literally read through this entire, excuse the beer burps, this entire article. And there's absolutely nothing here that has any sensical reasoning as to why it shouldn't go through. But as you get lower down into it, you see the agenda behind it, which is something to do with the unions. I don't know how much he's getting paid, if that even makes sense by these unions. I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm just throwing shit out there right now. But there's some sort of political agenda behind this that we don't know about, because everything that they've mentioned just doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no reason why. There's no argument to say that the work environment of Microsoft is worse than at Activision Blizzard. And they mentioned that a bunch of times. Nonsensical. Let's go. Cut the console warring BSLV. Yeah, console wars. Yeah. Politicians are just flexing. I mean, so it seems like. Best part is Sony has bought 2 more studios after this Activision Blizzard purchase announcement, and Sony already has more studios than Microsoft. You know what? Sony actually, I was gonna bring that up here. Let me see. Let me see if I can. I think I have it on my Twitter where I liked it. My Twitter. So I have Twitter, guys. If you want to go ahead and follow me there, I'll be honest. I'm not there. Twitter is like 100% console warrior stuff. So I don't take part in the console wars. I do tweet out stuff just randomly like this. Like, I don't know if you guys saw this new like handheld gaming PC coming out from NZXT. Looks absolutely crazy. But I do tweet out stuff just, here and there. But Twitter for me is like a news aggregator. It's where I find a lot of good news. Like this here from Benji Sales. A lot of retail evidence. Microsoft shipped an enormous amount of Xbox Series X consoles in March in the US to close out the quarter. Looking forward to March NPD data, we could potentially be looking at one of the biggest Xbox March results ever, rivaling Xbox 360 back in 2011. I wouldn't be surprised if Xbox wins March for sure. The Switch will still be on top of it, but if they at least beat the PS5 again, they've been selling like crazy. And you can tell there's more inventory for the Series X. I see it all the time now, whereas couple of months ago, like the end of last year, there's like still like no inventory. I was at Walmart here in Brantford and I see Series X in the wild for the first time. Must have been a big shipment. Looks like another MPD. There you go. Yeah, exactly what we're talking about here, Matt. Exactly. Yeah. I haven't seen any in the wild around me. I'm sure I will soon. I go in sometimes just to look, but I've seen Series S's. I think I've seen one Series S in the wild so far, but I'm going to definitely keep my eye out on that. Ultimately, in the end, though, Warren, Bernie, and co. don't have any real say. So, in the end, on this, yeah, I mean, nothing's going to happen out of it. It's just to cause some sort of, I don't know, cause something. But speaking of that previous post, previous comment, there was this that came out as well that Jim Ryan has confirmed Sony has more studio acquisitions planned. So Sony announced the acquisition, as we know, of Haven. That's Jade Raymond's studio, former one of the creators, I believe, of Assassin's Creed. And they're making a live service game. That's going to be where Sony is heading towards because they know all the money within live services. And yeah, it makes sense. That's why they got Bungie. It's like a big part of what they're doing. But Jim Ryan commented on this a little bit more. And he says here, we're in a really good place with PlayStation Studios and have been for the past few years. The critical success and the commercial success of the games that they've been making that has given us permission to invest heavily in content creation. We're growing our studios organically and we're growing through acquisition. We acquired 5 studios during the course of 2021. We're in discussion with Bungie and we have more planned. This is getting us into a virtuous cycle where success begets success. This is virtuous cycle. What does that mean? Somebody in the comments want to tell me what virtuous cycle means? Because I have no idea. He keeps saying the virtuous cycle, the virtuous cycle. Virtue is like the big word these days. He said it when they announced PlayStation Plus. And now he's saying it again in this interview. And he says here, the games that we are making are getting better. They're getting better. They're getting more beautiful. They're getting richer. The narrative is getting stronger. This is really great. And gamers tell us this is what they really want from PlayStation. Now, I have to say, putting these games into a subscription service immediately upon their release would break the virtuous cycle, and we wouldn't be able to invest in the way that they're currently able to. So we're not doing it. We're going to stick to the approach that we have and has served us well under many years now. Matt, I've been playing Tunic a lot. Incredible game. I talked about it at the beginning. Here. Incredible game. If you haven't played Tunic, definitely go check it out. But getting back to this, yeah, like they're looking for acquisitions, and there were all the rumors going around this week that Sony was apparently buying From Software. They were apparently buying Konami. They had some big acquisition in the works, and it never came to fruition. And maybe it just hasn't happened yet, and we will see it. But Jim Ryan doubles down on his thing here about not being able to put games into the subscription service, which to me, I don't believe. I personally, my personal viewpoint on this could be completely wrong, is he's just lying. Jim Ryan's straight up lying when it comes to the ability to put their first party games within their subscription services. And I made an 18-minute video talking about why I think this, and it pretty much has to do with the fact that he knows how strong the PlayStation brand is around the world, and that's an objective thought in my opinion. I don't think you can really dispute that. PlayStation is extremely popular. It's extremely well known. Probably has more of a brand recognition from just the common gamer, the casual gamer, someone who doesn't follow the industry, someone who doesn't watch gaming podcasts and gaming YouTube videos. They probably know PlayStation more than they know Xbox. And he knows that there's a large base, or the majority of their base, who value PlayStation games at they're $70. In their mind, they think that spending $70 on a PlayStation game is more valuable than spending $70 on anything else in video games, which is absurd. But that's what their marketing has done. That's why their marketing and their business side of things in PlayStation has been amazing. And that's why they're as big as they are. PlayStation games are great. They have great quality, but your $70 isn't more valuable when you're buying a PlayStation game. That's just crazy. And I think he knows that. And he knows that many people, as long as they transfer over a certain percentage of their current subscribers to the higher tier of PlayStation Now, they're going to highly increase their revenue just from that. Plus, all of those people that have transferred over to the higher tiers of PlayStation Now are still going to be running out and buying PlayStation first-party games on day one at full price, and most likely through the digital store, meaning they get to keep the majority of the profits, all the profits pretty much. And that's what I think he's keeps saying why he can't put their games in the subscription service. It all comes down to the bottom dollar. That's my little rant on that. A chain of events in which one desirable occurrence leads to another, which further promotes the first occurrence, and so on, resulting in a continuous process of improvement. Josh Guns, is that a Google definition of virtuous cycle? Or if you just wrote that off the top of your head, smart. You're a smart guy. Sony buys big studio is okay, but Microsoft buys studio is bad. Why people hate Microsoft? Those politicians are PlayStation fanboys. Imagine. Thanks for the definition. Game Pass is starting to get hard to ignore even to the average consumer, and when it pops up on your smart TV, what are they going to do when they can't even buy a PlayStation 5 in store? That's a great point, Josh. That's a great point, especially with I'm just going to pull up an article so we have something to look at. With the Xbox family plan coming. I mean, that's going to be huge. That's a massive, families are going to see this. And when they see the amount of games that, hey, I don't need to buy, especially when it comes streaming to your TV through the cloud, all that type of stuff. I don't need to buy my 5 kids each a console. They don't fight over the one console. All I have to do is pay. I'm hoping this will be $30 to $50 in that range for the family plan. All I have to do is pay that amount of money, and they all can just sign in and play as many games as they want, and then solves all the issues. That's going to be huge. And we know that the family plan is coming. We just don't know what it's going to entail. I'm hoping that it's not just locked to Ultimate, and that you can kind of have the option of what you want to do, because some families probably don't want their kids playing online. So if you're just buying Xbox Game Pass console, I don't believe it includes Xbox Live Gold, but you still give your kids a bunch of games. And then some people want everything, and then you're going to be able to pay and get like up to 5 accounts. And it's a great. This was the big thing missing within Xbox Game Pass, was the family plan. Even myself, it'll be great going forward. Like right now, you don't need it if you only have like 2 people using it, because you can kind of share share the home console for Xbox Game Pass. But sometimes like that system, you can only, I didn't realize this, but near the end of this year, I had switched my home console too many times. I couldn't switch it anymore, and I had to wait until a certain date before I could switch it again, which was really dumb. I thought that was a really weird policy that they had on there. And that'll be all taken care of now with the family plan. Okay, Bob, please, Bob, do not do these things. I do not condone it. I identify as a politician. I'm dumb. That's a good one. A little bit of both. I couldn't fully put it into words. All right. Well, I appreciate it, because I read the virtuous cycle thing, and I'm like, what does this mean? What does this mean? What is Jim Ryan trying to get? I keep saying this, and he keeps throwing it in there, so he's like focusing on that. And for some sort of, I don't know, maybe the board meetings, they always say virtuous cycle. 50 viewers, man, that's awesome. This is my first time doing this live, and if you guys like the live stuff, I'm definitely want to keep going forward with it, because it's fun to see you guys' reaction live when I'm doing it, rather than reading the comments after I've put it out. Do you have a Roblox account? I joined Roblox in 2015. I do not have a Roblox account. I've never touched that game, and I probably never will touch that game. What's up, Who? Awesome to see you live. What studios do you think Xbox should acquire that can make narrative blockbuster style Sony game? For me, it would be Asobo. I mean, Asobo makes a lot of sense. We know the next Plague Tale is coming out, right, to Game Pass on day one. I don't know. Crystal Dynamics, because we know they're working with the Initiative. I think Crystal Dynamics would be a great acquisition at some point if Square wants to sell them off. The Tomb Raider reboot from Crystal was one of the best reboots I think I've ever played. One of my favorite game series. Loved them. So I would love to see Crystal Dynamics. I think the Initiative is working with Crystal to kind of do that thing that Sony says they do, which is fostering these studios for a while, working with them, seeing if it's the right fit, and then going ahead and acquiring them. And Crystal may be on that. Should reach out to the RDX podcast. Yeah, a lot of people said that. Yeah, it'd be cool to get on there for sure. I definitely should network a little bit more. That's something I don't do very much. That's on me. So, but I was thinking, I don't know what you guys think about this. One day, I don't know if I'll do it, but I was thinking we have a lot of Xbox podcasts. We have a lot of PlayStation podcasts. We have a lot of Nintendo podcasts. I think it would be really cool if I had a podcast with somebody from the PlayStation side, where we could look at these articles, these point of views from both sides, and kind of have a debate on it. I don't know if that would be something you guys would like to see, but that is, again, it's just a thought. Don't know if it'll happen. I got to figure out if anybody would want to do that. Crystal Dynamics and Eidos would be awesome. Hellblade 2 looks to rival Naughty Dog in talent and experience. Yeah, I mean, Ninja Theory, they have, from what we've seen so far, it's going to be nuts. For narrative games, for linear, just complete narrative-driven games, Ninja Theory, I think, is... We asked, like, your question was, who should they acquire? I mean, they already have the studios. That's the thing. They could go out and acquire more people, sure, but they already have the studios. They just got to build them and foster them, and they'll be able to put out great things. Like, Ninja Theory is going to put out incredible stuff. We already saw it with that just one gameplay trailer of how amazing Hellblade 2 looked, right? So they already have it. Will they? We're not going to hear about any more acquisitions until Activision Blizzard's over. In fact, I would be surprised if Microsoft acquires another massive studio this generation. Like, I don't see them doing another Activision Blizzard deal or even another Bethesda deal. I could be completely wrong on that, but I just don't see it happening. I think at this point now, they need to make sure their first party studios get on track. Start pumping out those first party games every 3 to 4 months and stop this stuff here. Whatever this is, like, because these journalists all like this is their livelihood, right? Trying to write these breaking reports. And like, if you are you just tuning in now, we went over this. I didn't find too much substance in this report. I read through the entire thing. Yes, the things that occurred that they said were occurring allegedly shouldn't be occurring and it shouldn't happen. But the entire thing was basically saying Undead Labs got purchased, Undead Labs grew, and as they grew, things got out of hand. Microsoft did what they were saying that they were going to do when they purchased them, was just hands off. And then eventually they realized it couldn't be hands off, so they went hands on and they fixed everything. That's essentially what this article says. So it's kind of ridiculous. Okay, let's see what we have here. Plume, why don't you have a plume on your cap? Well, I have a controller and beer, which represents my podcast, which is talking about games and drinking beer. That's the cap. But yeah, I should just get like my logo on the cap itself. Probably a good idea. Still pushing for Xbox to grab Koei Tecmo, Dead or Alive, Ninja Gaiden, Atelier, Big JRPG in Japan, Monster Rancher, and Tap Potential, Dynasty Warriors. The formula can easily be used for spin-offs. So yeah, there's people always talking about the Japanese acquisitions. And the thing is with that is, can Microsoft purchase a Japanese developer? Will it go through? There's always people saying it just can't happen. Japan won't allow it. I know we've been hearing about Sega forever, right? We've been hearing about Kojima, not acquiring Kojima, but Kojima working with Xbox with their cloud-based technology. I mean, there's all these rumors that we heard about and just haven't happened. I have a question to Mr. Plume. Is Sony PlayStation can compete against Xbox Series X with Game Pass? Okay, well, you know what? It's a good question to look at this. So I'm sure everyone saw this. Did they update it? Let's see. Is there an update on this article? Ooh, they did update it. Let's see. Let's see. First. No. Day 1. We'll see. Okay, let's just take a look at it. Did they update it and put the day 1? So if we're comparing these two products, PlayStation Plus and Xbox Game Pass, in no way does PlayStation Plus compete with Game Pass. In no way whatsoever. Sorry, I'm just reading this comment here. Okay, I'll get to that after. But yeah, there's no way I think this can compete. But what I think is that PlayStation isn't even really trying to fully compete one-to-one with Xbox Game Pass. I think what they're trying to do is make more revenue and prepare for the subscription services side of things, where the industry is completely moving towards that, where we're not going to be having like you running out and buying a console, getting day one console exclusives, all that type of stuff, which PlayStation does right now. All I think they're trying to do is, like I explained earlier, they're trying to move a percentage of their PlayStation Plus current users. They have like 48 million. Just trying to move a large percentage, I don't know, maybe 10, 20, 30% over to the higher tiers of this PlayStation Plus premium, because they know that like you'll be making a lot more money off them on a monthly basis. And they know that all of these people that they move over are going to be buying PlayStation first party games day one for the full price in their digital store, where they can keep all the profit. So I think that's what their goal is here. And they know that this service, what they're offering for PlayStation fans, people that just only play on PlayStation, will be enough. There will be I think there will be a decent percentage of people who move from the $9.99 PlayStation Plus subscription level to the $17.99, and that's what they want. They know that they can double dip on all of their customers. The problem is with Game Pass, or with Xbox, was the Xbox One generation was so bad that they lost a lot of the consumer trust. That was the main thing. So they have to build that up, and they've been doing that. And once like once they start releasing all their first party games, and it's kind of to the benefit of us because they knew that they had to kind of build up that trust. They had lost it. They were already way behind PlayStation. They were already way behind Nintendo. So they put out this great value in Xbox Game Pass. They push it to all of us. We all love it. The trust is coming back. The trust is there. Xbox is doing amazing. And now, kind of because Xbox One did so bad, we are benefiting on getting all of their first party games in the service on day one. And on top of that, they're a multi-trillion-dollar company. So they were able to take that risk. Now, Game Pass is making money. Phil Spencer has said it multiple times. Over 25 million plus subscribers, and it's going to continue to take money, and it's going to, I believe, going forward into the next generation and stuff, I think Xbox is going to probably make more money overall than PlayStation. I just do, just because more people are going to be signing up to Xbox Game Pass, and you will get people switching over when they see these prices as well from PlayStation Plus to Xbox. Could be wrong on that. Again, that's just kind of the way I see it. I agree. Xbox has so much talent now, especially after ABK. I just suppose outside of Ninja Theory and Compulsion, they don't really have studios to work on those Sony style games. Plume, they can. Hogue even cleared that up. Oh, okay. Sorry, Fireboss. Are you talking about Xbox buying Japanese studios? Yeah, I should probably watch that video. I hadn't seen it. Any company can buy another so as long as they are selling. Okay. It's looking like Platinum may be one of Xbox Game Studios' next grabs. That would be huge. I know a lot. So when it comes to Platinum, I know a lot of people are against Platinum because of what they did with Scalebound, but I don't care. Like, honestly, I don't care at the end of the day. For as a consumer, as a gamer, if they got Platinum, I'd be stoked. I love Bayonetta. I mean, I love that series, and they make really good action games. And now they don't hit on everything, because didn't they do Babylon's Fall, which is like one of the worst games this year, if not the worst game, based off of ratings? Or am I completely wrong on that? Yeah, Platinum. So they don't always hit on their stuff, which fair enough. Not every studio does, and Platinum probably has had more misses than some studios. But if they were to acquire Platinum and they were able to make some really cool action games such as like Bayonetta, I would be definitely into that, because we would get it on Xbox Game Pass. So I don't really care about the stuff with Scalebound. They did make Microsoft and Xbox look bad, but hey, I don't make money off the corporation. As long as they're giving me great content, giving me great value, that's all I care about as a gamer. But yeah, Babylon's Fall. This game got really, really bad reviews. What is it, 41? Yeah, 2.2 user score. Conveniently forgetting to include day and date games for Game Pass on that chart. Yeah, that was ridiculous. And you know what? People were roasting the heck out of them on Twitter, and you're IGN. You're like, what? I looked up. I think they're the 6th biggest video game site in the world in terms of traffic. Like, they're massive. Like, you can't be missing these types of things, because the amount of people that are coming to this who just probably don't know everything about the services are going to be misled by this information. It's going to be a lot of people. And yeah, it's just like, it's unacceptable from a site like IGN. It's different than when a small YouTuber makes a mistake or says something or they forget to say something. But this is like I wonder what the traffic to this webpage was. Probably huge, right? So yeah. You're against it too, but frankly, they really need to close that gap on Japanese content. That's fair. I mean, I'm not saying anyone's wrong who's against it. For me personally, it's like, I want to see more content in Game Pass. For me, I'm like, more that's Bayonetta in there. Like, I'm all for it. And they do need to close that gap with the Japanese studios, which is why Tango, I think, is very interesting. I'm excited to see what's coming out of Tango Gameworks, because we know that they're working on a bunch of different stuff that isn't going to just be the horror style of games, and they're working on like a brand new game. I know I haven't played Ghostwire yet. I don't know if anybody has. I heard it's gotten like decent reviews, but I definitely want to play this. It looks like a game that I would enjoy, right up my alley, but I will play when it comes to Game Pass. But like, Tango's gonna help, I think, close that gap. But they need more. They definitely need more with the Japanese studios. If it was more to me, I'd get Itagaki and his studio. Yeah. what's the name of his game? I played it on the Switch. I don't know. I even like backed it. I even backed it on Kickstarter. Or am I thinking of somebody else? No, I'm thinking of somebody else. Yeah, I'm thinking of something else. Okay, okay, yeah. So Dead or Alive or Ninja Gaiden. But who's the guy who previously made Castlevania? They could look into that guy too. Um, Bloodstained. That's a really cool platformer game too, or side-scrolling like Castlevania style game, which is really awesome. If you guys haven't checked that out, that could be another one. I don't know. Platinum Games doesn't really own any IP, and their output is really inconsistent. Bring up their history on Metacritic. All right. Platinum Games Metacritic. Yeah, I mean, like I said, they have a lot of misses, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad. So we have Near. All right. A good game, right? Near is a good game. Vanquish. I don't know if anyone's played Vanquish, but that's a pretty neat game. Bayonetta 2, one of my favorite games. It's up there, one of my favorite games ever. I loved it. Near again, Near Automata, great game. Yes, Igarashi. That's who I was thinking of. Fireboss. That's it. Astral Chain. That's a really cool game. Played it on the Nintendo Switch. Very, very cool game. I'd be great to see that game get ported over to Xbox and be able to play it because it's very neat. What else do they got here? The Wonderful 101. I haven't played this game, but it looks interesting. That was a Wii U game, I believe. Originally. I believe it originally came on the Wii U, maybe the Switch. I don't know, but it looks pretty cool. It's like you're controlling a bunch of like little things and doing different attacks. World of Demons. It's an iOS game. Never heard of that. What do we got here? Soul Cresta. Never heard of that. It's to be determined. I guess it's not out yet, or it is out. And then you got Babylon's Fall. So I would say overall, if you're basing it off of Metacritic, I guess there's more back here. Okay, it gets a little bit more dicey as we go to the very beginning. Scalebound never came out. Mad World, I remember that game on the Wii. That was cool. Infinite Space, never heard of it. Anarchy Reigns, I heard about this game, never played it, but I heard it was relatively mediocre. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. I didn't know they made that. What else we got here? The Legend of Korra, that's a bad one. Transformers Devastation, is this like the cel-shaded one? Yeah, this game is awesome. This game is awesome. If you haven't played Transformers Devastation, I recommend it. I really like that one. Star Fox Guard, never played that. TMNT Mutants in Manhattan, I'm guessing that was like a... What did they do? PlayStation 4, PS3, 51. All right. So, I mean, overall, their Metacritic scores aren't that bad. Like their 76 is their average career score, but I would say in general, they make good games. They've had some misses, the lowest one being Babylon's Fall, which could be concerning because it's their most recent game. And that game, when they first showed it off, looked great, and then they changed it up and it just didn't do great. But they've had good games. I would be for Platinum. That's just the way I see it on Platinum. I'd be for it. Platinum Games don't really own any IP. Their output is really consistent. These fall games are cursed. Finally, they still own Wonderful 101. Platinum could work if it's bought as a second team for Tango. Let Tango leaders lead them. Platinum has great ideas but need leadership. And I think like that's something that we're seeing right now across Xbox Game Studios. Some of their new acquisitions is they all have great ideas. They have no leadership, which is causing issues, which is causing articles like this to come out. So at some point, Microsoft is going to have to step in and just kind of get everyone focused, or we could be in for, or they're not going to meet their goal of releasing games every 3 to 4 months, which is what they need to do. I'm curious if they could split Tango Gameworks into 2 or 3 teams or turn them into a publisher themselves away from Bethesda. You never know. Maybe. I don't know how big their team is, so I don't know if they could, but I think Nier is owned by Square Enix and Bayonetta is owned by Sega. Okay. Yeah, I mean if they're owned by those two publishers, it's kind of, they can still go out and make new IPs, which would be great, right? Vanquish is a really, really cool game. Clickbait article, what do you expect? All right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, back to this. This chart was hilarious. I don't think PlayStation Plus will be able to compete with it. We'll wait and see. We still don't know what like retro games they're going to be putting out on the service. Is it just going to be a lot of the stuff they have within PlayStation Plus or PlayStation Now right now, or are they going to be putting out new stuff? That's the question. Ooh, who's my pick to win the Stanley Cup this year? I think Colorado. Colorado looks really, really good. I like to see Florida win just because I remember back in like 96 when they threw all the rats on the ice. So that was hilarious. And I kind of want to see that again. But I think Colorado is going to be very, very tough to beat. I see you drink alcohol. Yeah, I mean, this is Plumecast. This is my first live, and I'm drinking a beer while just hanging out with you guys. Sega could be the next big grab as well. I mean, we'll see. That's been a rumor for a while now. But anyways, I'm gonna go over one more thing, and then I think I'm going to Colorado in the house. Yeah, I mean the Avalanche look really good, man. It would be cool to see them win. Didn't they beat Florida in '96 in the finals, which was hilarious. But maybe we'll see another Colorado Florida Stanley Cup final. With Xbox to pick up Sega, imagine being able to stick a Sega Dreamcast disc in your Series X and it runs through backwards compatible emulation. That would be insane. And you know, they helped make the Dreamcast, Microsoft, right? So they probably could implement it. All right, we'll jump over here. Last thing we'll talk about, and it is I don't know if you guys saw this, and if guys are still playing Halo. I know the numbers have fallen off dramatically, but they did a update recently talking about some of the stuff that they are working on, and the TLDR stuff as to the new stuff coming to Halo. And I'll be honest, when it comes to Halo Infinite, I still have it incompleted. I put in a ton of hours from the start, and like a lot of people, I fell off of it, and it's just because, I mean, they haven't done the best job with updating content and keeping you wanting to come back for more. So here we are, but I think they're working on it. It's a work in progress. Season 2, I think, is going to be a lot better, and they give us more information on Season 2 when it comes to Halo Infinite. And they say here, we recommend reading the full blog below to get all the details and context, but here's a quick look at some of the updates coming when Season 2 launches on May 3rd. So they just gave this update, and I believe this was like 2 days ago or yesterday or something, and a day ago. So they're trying to be more transparent. We know Joseph Staten came out and explained why he couldn't be transparent. Basically doesn't want to get people excited and then have them wait a long time before the content comes out. But here are some of the things that they are going to be adding in Season 2. So they're going to be adding, for audio, the ability to hear an opponent's shield recharge sound will be reduced to prevent providing too much information about a player's location. The volume of the grunt birthday party sound effect will be increased in campaign. For multiplayer, there is going to be a new arena map, which will be added to the multiple playlists day one. King of the Hill will be added to multiple playlists. That's good. King of the Hill is a fun game mode. Attrition will be added to multiple playlists. In Attrition, a revived player will be able to move immediately after spawning back in. Okay, and then Motion Tracker will have its outer edge direction enabled for shooting and sprinting on social playlists. When it comes to Big Team Battle, there will be a new Big Team Battle map. That's good because I find the Big Team Battle maps are good, but they're getting stale as you continuously play through them over and over again. And there will be Breaker, which will be added to the matchmaking on day one. Jeff Steitzer's voice is returning. Call-out player earned medals and issues causing asymmetrical weapon rack spawns have been addressed in terms of matchmaking. Rather than track a player's entire season, the CSR progression bar will now reflect the progress made from their most recent match. That's good. I think that's a good because people get better, right? If they continue to improve, you don't want to look at their old crappy games. Addressing some custom games and bugs, and then there will be a balance adjustments where made to emphasize what's most important for players. Some PC stability options, some network stability options. They're going to make melee better, not like be so you're not going to whiff as much. Friend or foe recognition. This is big because I found sometimes it was hard to always recognize them, but the system will now have options for players to modify the opacity and thickness based on their preferences. I need like a thick opacity as I get older. My eyes can't see very well, a little bit colorblind, so it's always hard for me to see these things. That's why I'm not that great anymore at Halo, but it is what it is. That's just what happens with age. Equipment drop wall will see slight performance increases. Overshield will provide slightly more shielding. And then there's some vehicle options. So they are giving us more information as they go along with Halo Season 2 coming up. It'll be really interesting to see how this plays out because the player count for Halo isn't where it needs to be at all. And they got to do something to keep people coming back and entertained and make this community lively, because Halo Infinite is an incredible game in terms of the gameplay. They knocked it out of the park. It's in my opinion could potentially be the best Halo multiplayer. It's just the problem is the content right now and the live service. They haven't done it well. So we'll see what happens with that, but they are giving us more information on some updates coming. I am still disappointed that we don't have the co-op right away, but hopefully they give us an update on that. And then Forge as well. We're still waiting on that. And I'm just going to make this quick transition. So it says Halo Infinite. So there's that. I don't know if any of you guys watch right now are still playing Halo or interested in Halo. What do you guys think about that? I know right now we're still talking about Microsoft bought Bandai Namco. They can get all acquisitions. What's up, Get Good? How you doing? Bandai Namco is not worth it, in my opinion. Most of their market value is in stuff which isn't gaming, anime, music, amusement parks, arcades. Square or Capcom would have a bigger. The acquisition talk is ramping up, I say right now, on the PlayStation side. We'll see if they do anything, because there's been so many rumors about acquisitions that were supposed to happen this week. I heard this thing about, I don't watch Kind of Funny. This is not my style, but they apparently moved their podcast because apparently there was a big acquisition coming from Sony, which never happened, which is kind of funny. No pun intended on that one. They really need to drop more maps. I don't understand how they thought it was okay to launch a multiplayer game with like 5 maps. Yeah, they definitely need to drop more maps. And they are saying here that they are giving, they say Catalyst new arena map. That's one. Unfortunate. I'm sure they'll be giving more, because the previous update they said more maps are coming. They didn't specify how many, but only giving one map is a little bit lame. And then as well as a new big team battle map. So 2 total big team battle maps. Hey, what's up, Get Good? Yeah, I mean, my first time doing this live. A lot of fun. Chat's been lively. Had some good conversation. So I think I will make my podcast more into just like, just a chilling, hanging out, talking about some of the stuff in the news. I'll ramble about stuff, then reading some of the comments. But I mean, that was all I had on slate for this episode. So if you're just tuning in, I am going to be ending this soon, about 5 or 10 minutes. But overall, to recap it, basically what we went over was the political stuff, which was stupid. Like, they don't really have any good reasoning for what they're doing. And this article, which again didn't have too much substance to it. I explained all my stuff. PlayStation is going to be buying more studios, and PlayStation Plus is not going to be able to compete with Xbox Game Pass. But I'm going to leave that there, guys. Been about an hour and a half. Like, if you guys enjoy the live stuff, I'm probably going to continue with doing the Plumecast live stuff, and we'll just talk about some weekly gaming news and just hang out have a good time, have a drink water, whatever it is, and we'll continue to do this. You have a big surprise for me, Bob. Sony's biggest acquisition to date was Bungie at under $4 billion. Yeah, I mean, they don't have the cash that Microsoft has. What am I waiting for here, Bob? Oh no. I'll wait. I don't see how you can surprise me though, unless it's like something on Twitter. And hey, if you guys are on Twitter and you haven't yet, go ahead, follow me on Twitter. It's just I just kind of tweet random stuff. Don't get too involved in the console wars or anything like that. And but you know, if you just want to follow me on another platform, maybe I sometimes update things going on there, so it's a good place to follow me. And if you're new here, it's your first time in the chat, make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you enjoyed it. What do you think about these rumors of PlayStation buying FromSoft? I think it's absurd. So I don't think it's happening. One, that's my first thought when I first saw it, because why would Sony go and purchase FromSoft right now? Literally, probably the worst time to purchase FromSoft. I heard these rumors, and logically, yeah, it makes sense in the fact that FromSoft, Bloodborne was exclusive. FromSoft already does a lot with PlayStation. They have a great relationship. I get it, but if you're FromSoft right now, or if you're Sony right now, you're buying FromSoft at literally the top of the market, like the highest they will be worth. And I'm not saying they're going to go down, but something could happen. They could release their next game, could be bad. They could reduce in value a little bit. But Elden Ring is one of the most successful games ever. So you would literally be buying at the top of the market. Why wouldn't they have bought FromSoft a year ago and made Elden Ring exclusive to PlayStation? The rumor itself doesn't make too much business sense. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I just don't see Sony being that dumb to buy FromSoft at the top at the worst possible time, because you know how much money FromSoft is going to be asking for, like an insane amount after Elden Ring. They're established like crazy, like they could get tons for it. So we'll see. But it was supposed to happen this week, right? And it didn't happen. You did a resubscribe for 2 months, Bob. I appreciate that. My membership's 99 cents a month. It does help out the channel. Just get like some emotes and stuff or whatever. But I do appreciate everyone who supports it, everyone who subscribed as a member. Really does mean a lot. Also in Colorado, one of us is Canada at some point. You ever been to the States? And where's your favorite place here? I have been to the States. I've been to the East Coast mainly. Like I've been to like Boston. I've been to Nashville, New Jersey, Buffalo, like different places in New York State. So those have been the main places. I've been to like Cleveland. I think what other cities I've been to. Cincinnati. Not Lexington. There's the city when you cross the bridge from Cincinnati to Kentucky, the city there, whatever city that is, I've been there. Yeah, I'd say Nashville is probably one of my favorite places. It's a lot of fun, really good food, and I'm a Tennessee Titans fan for football, so yeah, that was a great time. And New Jersey is fun, just like the Jersey Shore. I'm Italian, so going to the Jersey Shore just is always a good time. After their success, they don't need to financially sell themselves. That's it, right? Why would they purchase them now? It doesn't make any sense. There's no logical business sense to buying FromSoft right now. And why would FromSoft want to sell? They're making insane amount of money. Boomer politicians holding the acquisition back. So, yeah, that's it. Like, I mean, they still don't understand the video game industry at all. Sony down 1.93% of Kadokawa, who own From Software. Sony should buy Kadokawa to get From Software. Do they have the money for that? I don't know. I mean, you can always take out leverage something, right? But do they have the money? It doesn't seem like they have the money. They don't have Microsoft money, that's for sure. All right, good. Thanks for stopping by. All right, guys, I'm actually gonna call it there too. First live Plumecast, I think it was pretty successful. Had a good crowd here. You guys seem to enjoy it, and if you guys like the stuff, I'll continue to do it. But I will catch you guys. Check out the videos throughout the week, and I will catch you guys in the next videos throughout the week, and hopefully next week as well on Plumecast. So thanks for stopping by again, and I'll see you later.